Hey there, what's under promotion? It's simply to promote a pawn to a piece which is different than a queen. That would be a bishop, a knight, or a rook. We know that by far the strongest piece is the queen, but there are very few situations on which it is better not to promote to a queen. And the most common reasons are to avoid a stalemate, to avoid a perpetual check, to avoid or prevent a threat by your opponent. And the most common way to underpromote a pawn is a knight, because a knight is the piece that works completely different to a queen. A queen controls diagonals like a bishop and also controls ranks and files like a rook, but it doesn't control the same squares that a knight does. That's why the most common underpromotions, which by the way are not very common, are underpromoting to a knight. Let's start with this position. Here it is white to play and white has a winning advantage, an overwhelming advantage. And here white played the move rook to d8. So now we plan to promote the pawn and get a queen, so it seems like the game is over. And here black took with the rook. And here white underpromoted to a knight. Unsurprisingly, this is the only winning move for white. If white underpromotes to a queen, which is the strongest piece, we get a stalemate. We see that the king cannot access any square on the 8th rank. And also b7 is controlled, a6 and b6 are controlled, so this is a stalemate. Now, if we promote to a rook, we have a similar situation. This is a stalemate. And if we promote to a bishop, we see that here we have a rook pawn, and the square, the promotion square a8, is a light square, and we would have a dark square bishop. That's why in this case, we would have this very exceptional position on which a bishop and a pawn doesn't win. If we had any other pawn like a b6 or c6, that would be an easy win with the bishop. But here, since we have a rook pawn, an a pawn, and a dark square bishop, that would be a draw because it would end up in a stalemate, as we saw in previous lectures. That's why underpromoting to a knight is the only way to win here. That's quite surprising. And the game finished quickly after the move king to b8, king to b6, king to a8, knight to e6. Here we don't push a7 because it's a stalemate, but we play knight e6 first. And here black resigned because after king to b8, a7, if black plays king to c8, then white promotes. And if king to a8, here it's not a stalemate because we have knight to c7, checkmate. In this position, white also underpromoted to a knight. And the point is that if white promotes to a queen, then black gives a perpetual. After the move queen to b1 and queen to a1, there's no way for white to avoid the perpetual check, even though white is a rook and bishop ahead in material. Also here white could have tried the move rook to c8. It would be a bit hard to start analyzing these positions on which the king tries to escape the checks. And as far as I can see here, black is given perpetual check. At least I couldn't find a way for white to avoid a perpetual check. That's why here white promoted to a knight, giving a check first. That's why black cannot give perpetual. And the game continued king to a7, rook to c7, king to b8, rook to d7. And here we see that white has a large advantage and actually won the game. The point is that first of all, white has a material advantage. And secondly, white's king now can come even to try to attack black's king. And black didn't manage to give a perpetual check here. Let's continue the game. But in any case, we see that white is the one pressing here. White picked up the pawn. We had a lot of maneuvering, but in any case, we see that white is the one trying to bring the king to try to attack black's king. Here, white managed to play the king to b6. And here, after the move rook to c8, black resigned because after taking the knight, here white has the move rook to c6. And we get this position on which, even though we have a rook pawn, white has the good bishop. So white has a bishop that controls a8. So that's why this is easily winning for white. So keep in mind this idea of underpromoting. In most cases, promoting to a queen is definitely the best way. But in some very specific situations, it is better to promote to a different piece.